A powerful CEO ignores a hotel bellboy's handshake, but the boy leans in and says something that makes the CEO freeze and turn white. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment where in the world you're watching from. Let's go. Logan Perry always prided himself on his relentless drive. At 46, he was the CEO of Aurelius Innovations, a technology conglomerate known for its sharp growth and equally sharp leadership. Logan's name graced the covers of business magazines, his face always stoic, gray eyes reflecting a constant hunger for success. Yet as he stepped out of his chauffeured car in front of the sleek Stella Vista Hotel, he wore more than just a tailored suit. He wore the aura of a man who believed he owned the world. With the annual tech summit scheduled to begin the next morning, Logan intended to make a strong impression on investors, associates, and rivals. His arrival at the hotel was the first move in a carefully orchestrated game, one he was confident he would win. He strode into the pristine marble lobby, ignoring the hush that followed in his wake. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead while polished floors seemed to mirror his every step. The staff recognized him instantly. Some whispered his name with reverence, others with apprehension. Logan was used to this reaction. He thrived on it. Approaching the reception desk, he offered the barest flicker of a smile to the concierge. She stammered a greeting, fumbling through the check-in process. Logan's phone buzzed in his pocket, but he didn't bother to glance at it. He was far too preoccupied with the sense of control that came from being recognized, admired, or perhaps feared. A young bellboy appeared at his side, wearing a neatly pressed uniform and an uneasy smile. He looked around 18 or 19, tall, lean, dark hair that was a little too long to meet the strict grooming standards of such an upscale hotel. In his hands, he clutched Logan's sleek leather suitcase, an item worth more than the boy likely earned in a month. "Sir, let me show you to your suite," he said, voice wavering slightly as though not entirely comfortable with his task. Logan's lips pressed into a thin line. Nodding curtly, he allowed the boy to take charge of the luggage. Logan was used to five-star service and rarely acknowledged the staff beyond a perfunctory nod or a dismissive wave. In the elevator, the boy stood in the corner, eyes lowered, glancing occasionally at Logan in the polished reflection of the walls. Logan said nothing, but he could sense the kid's nervousness. Usually, he let these interactions pass without incident, finding small talk pointless. Yet something about the bellboy's demeanor was intriguing. The shaky swallow, the faint tension in his shoulders. Perhaps he recognized Logan from media coverage. Most did when they found themselves face to face with the unstoppable force behind Aurelius Innovations. The elevator chimed at the 32nd floor, reserved for the hotel's most distinguished guests. Polished corridors lined with modern art led to a single door at the end, the Grand Aurora Suite. Logan stepped out, the bellboy close behind. The teen set the suitcase inside the entryway, then turned to Logan with uncertainty flickering in his eyes. His hand hovered at his side as though expecting a tip. Logan never liked feeling pressured. He let a beat pass, took out his wallet, then slid it back into his jacket. "Thanks," he said curtly. "That's all." The refusal was abrupt. The bellboy's posture stiffened, a flash of frustration crossing his face. Logan noticed but dismissed it. It was, after all, his money. For a moment, the corridor fell silent. Logan reached to push the suite door wider, fully prepared to shut it in the boy's face. That was when the teen spoke, his voice low and trembling. "You really don't remember me, do you?" Logan paused, frowning. Did he know this kid? Possibly from an event or a charitable function. He shook his head. "No, should I?" The bellboy cleared his throat, standing a little straighter. "My name is Aaron Reyes. You might not recall, but you came into my mom's life a long time ago. She used to say your name under her breath like she was cursing it." A flicker of unease rippled through Logan, but he tried to ignore it, crossing his arms in a show of indifference. "Look, kid," Logan said coolly. "I meet a lot of people. Whatever you're trying to pull here..." Aaron's eyes hardened. "I'm not trying to pull anything. I only got this job because I hoped one day you'd walk in and I could finally get your attention. Guess that didn't really happen until you decided I wasn't worth a few dollars." Logan stiffened, annoyance creeping up his spine. The teen's bitterness was palpable, and the mention of Logan's refusal to tip ignited a flicker of guilt Logan refused to acknowledge. Aaron swallowed, glancing at the plush carpet. "My mom always told me if I ever saw you, I should ask you one question. Do you remember leaving her with a baby she couldn't afford to raise?" Logan's heart lurched, a cold dread settling in his chest. This was a scheme, he told himself, a manipulative trick. Yet something in Aaron's eyes said otherwise. "That's impossible," Logan snapped. "I don't have any children. If your mother claims otherwise, she's lying. Now get out before I call security." His tone rang hollow, lacking its usual confidence. Aaron's gaze filled with unspoken hurt, tears threatening in the corners. "You can deny it all you want," Aaron said, voice tightening, "but it doesn't erase the fact that I exist. You left my mom pregnant, Mr. Perry, and then you vanished. All these years she's been scraping by, waiting for the day she could confront you. Now she never will because..." He trailed off, pain twisting his features. Logan's pulse hammered. He had always prided himself on being meticulous, especially where his personal life was concerned. Had there been an oversight? Some fling he'd brushed off? He couldn't recall, yet here was a teenage boy basically accusing him of fathering a child and running. Shock and anger warred within him. Silence coiled in the corridor. Logan's mind spun, searching for any memory that fit Aaron's story, but nothing solid materialized. He forced a dismissive laugh. "I don't owe you anything, and I don't owe your mother anything either. If she truly believed this nonsense, she would have taken it to court." Aaron lifted his chin, defiance replacing the hurt. "We never had the money to fight you, and now she's gone, leaving me to wonder if you ever cared about anyone but yourself." The teen's voice wavered, and Logan found himself strangely rattled. He'd come here to secure deals, and instead he was face to face with accusations that threatened to unravel everything he thought he knew about his past. Finally, Aaron shook his head. Forget it. This was a mistake. He took a step back, bitterness etched into every line of his face. "Enjoy your summit, Mr. Perry. Keep your tip. Clearly you need it more than I do." With that, he turned on his heel and strode away, leaving Logan rooted to the spot. The door to the Grand Aurora suite remained open, as if beckoning him to step inside and pretend none of this had happened. Logan's heart thudded painfully. The raw anguish in Aaron's voice felt more authentic than any con he'd encountered. Could this boy truly be his son? The possibility churned in his gut. He was Logan Perry, a self-made man who had outrun every obstacle. But this time, the obstacle was regret. Logan swallowed, pushing the suite door shut with a trembling hand. The luxurious space felt suffocating. High-end decor and glass chandeliers did nothing to quell the turmoil raging beneath his calm exterior. Alone, he replayed Aaron's words. "You left my mom pregnant." Logan's reflection in a gilded mirror seemed distant, like a stranger wearing the same custom suit. He had told himself for years that his path to success demanded sacrifices. Had one of those sacrifices been a woman's future and an unborn child's life? Questions pounded at his temples. If there was even a chance Aaron was telling the truth, Logan had to find him. But what if the truth was bigger than he could handle? Breathing unsteadily, Logan loosened his tie, the sound of his own pulse roaring in his ears. Outside, the city glowed softly. Inside, Logan stood on uncertain ground, haunted by a boy's accusation. Everything he believed was now in doubt forever. The next morning, Logan stood by the windows of the Aurora suite, still wearing yesterday's shirt. He hadn't slept. Conflicting emotions kept him pacing between bedroom and living room, replaying Aaron's words. Under the early sunlight, the city shimmered, and he wondered if he had discarded something precious for Aurelius Innovations. The memory of Aaron's trembling accusation felt like a taunt he couldn't escape. He sighed and called his assistant. Anne was adept at managing investor relations and travel chaos. Her voice was crisp. "Good morning, Mr. Perry. How can I help?" He paused. "I need you to reschedule my first panel. Something personal came up. Also, can you find details on a former acquaintance, Maria Reyes? Maybe San Diego or Los Angeles around 20 years ago." After Anne hung up, he stood there, tension rolling across his shoulders. Growing up, Logan vowed never to harbor regrets. When his father abandoned them, he promised he'd surpass that man in every way. He used to imagine his father seeing him on a billboard, realizing his mistake. But now, recalling Aaron's face, Logan felt uncomfortably similar to the man he despised. If Aaron truly was his son, no fortune could repair the damage already done. After freshening up, Logan rode the elevator to the hotel restaurant, scanning for Aaron. He had no plan for what to say, only an uneasy urge to see if the kid was all right. But there was no sign of him, just murmuring guests and hurried servers. Logan ordered coffee he didn't really want, staring at each new face, hoping to spot Aaron. He tried recalling every woman he'd known in 2 decades, a blur of fleeting connections overshadowed by his obsession with Aurelius. Perhaps Maria Reyes was among them. Back then he traveled constantly, reckless with people's feelings. Now the consequences swarmed him, forcing him to face what he might have done in his climb. Anne called back an hour later, her usual composure shaken. "Mr. Perry, I found something. Maria Reyes in Los Angeles passed away 6 months ago. 52, unmarried, survived by a son. Aaron, 17. Logan felt his stomach drop. "Cause?" he asked. "Cancer. She struggled financially and never got proper care." Logan pictured a woman overwhelmed by bills. Shame gnawed at him. Anne offered to send documents, including an address for a friend listed as next of kin. "Handle it discreetly," Logan said. She murmured concern, but he ended the call. If Aaron's mother had died 6 months ago, the boy must have been on his own. The thought stabbed Logan's conscience. He had power and money, yet this possible son had no one. Driven by urgency, Logan found the hotel manager, Celia. "Aaron Reyes, the bellboy, where is he?" She frowned. "He missed his shift, which never happens." Concern tightened Logan's chest. "Do you have his number?" Celia hesitated. "I can't give it out, but I'll call him for you." Logan nodded. "Tell him I need to see him. If he refuses, fine, but let him know I asked." She promised to try. Hours slipped by, still no word. Logan grudgingly attended part of the summit, discussing innovation and corporate ethics while his mind stayed on Aaron. Each phone vibration raised his hopes, only to dash them when it was another investor question. By evening, Logan left the conference early, returning to the lonely hush of his suite. Pacing in front of the windows, he devised a plan. He had money and contacts enough to hire a detective, but that felt like overreach. Aaron's face was etched in Logan's mind. Hurt, angry, yet heartbreakingly sincere. Maybe direct force wouldn't help. He needed to show genuine concern, not bulldoze with wealth. The turmoil in Logan's gut felt sharper than any boardroom standoff. Late that night, Celia called. "Mr. Perry, I left Aaron messages. He never responded. A coworker saw him leave last night looking upset. No one's heard from him since." Logan thanked her quietly, dread pooling in his stomach. Where would Aaron go? The streets? A friend's couch? Logan pictured the teen's hollow eyes, and felt a surge of guilt and protectiveness he never expected. Tomorrow, he decided, the summit could wait. If Aaron was truly his son, Logan owed him far more than words. Slumping into an armchair, he stared at the lights. Once, he'd chased ambition at any cost. Now, each skyscraper felt like an accusation. If he'd wronged Aaron and his mother, he was no better than the father he loathed. He had to act before it was too late. Early the next morning, Logan contacted a local private investigator. Despite his previous misgivings, he needed leads on Aaron's whereabouts, and time was slipping by. Over the phone, he provided the boy's name, approximate age, and what little else he knew. The investigator, a calm-voiced woman named Dina, promised to start immediately. Logan felt relief clash with guilt. He'd spent years building walls around himself, yet now he was calling strangers for help. When Dina asked for a photo, he realized he didn't have one. All he could describe were Aaron's dark hair, anxious eyes, and that quiet anger etched into his features. Hanging up, Logan felt each minute stretch. He pictured Aaron wandering city streets alone and bitter, and vowed not to fail him again. He was done repeating the mistakes of his father. While Dina searched, Logan tried a different tactic. He reached out to local shelters, half expecting he might find Aaron huddled in some corner. Each call filled him with dread, imagining the boy's frustration after being turned away by the person who should have helped him most. A manager at one shelter said the name sounded familiar but couldn't confirm anything. Logan left his number, urging them to call if Aaron showed up. Hours crawled, each one deepening Logan's sense of helplessness. Typically, he thrived on crisis management, but this wasn't a corporate snag. It was personal and raw. For the first time, profits and expansions felt irrelevant compared to the simple goal of a second chance with a child who might be his own. He realized he cared far more about that boy now. By late afternoon, Dina reported an address she believed Aaron might visit, a run-down building in Queens, where an older acquaintance supposedly let him crash sometimes. Logan wasted no time summoning his driver and braving the congested streets. The neighborhood was far removed from the polished world he knew. Chipped paint, metal grates, broken sidewalks. He found the building's dim entrance and climbed battered steps that smelled of mildew. Knocking on a scuffed door, he rehearsed a calm greeting in his head. When it swung open, a wiry man in a stained tank top eyed Logan suspiciously. "You lost?" Logan cleared his throat. "I'm looking for Aaron Reyes. I was told he might be here." The man scowled, then shrugged. "He left. Don't know where he's headed. Sorry." And with that, he slammed the door. Frustration knotted in Logan's chest. Outside in the waning daylight, Logan felt more powerless than ever. The city hummed around him, passers-by hurrying past. For a moment, he stood still, clinging to the hope Aaron might reappear. Then his phone vibrated. Dina's voice crackled. "I got a tip from another contact. Apparently, Aaron sometimes hangs around a small boxing gym near Jackson Heights. He's not a boxer, but the owner lets him sweep floors for cash." Without hesitation, Logan headed there. The gym was tucked between closed storefronts, its neon sign flickering. Inside, the smell of sweat and leather mingled with the dull thud of fists against heavy bags. "Aaron Reyes?" Logan asked a heavy-set trainer. The man pointed to an empty corner. "He was here earlier, but he took off again. Looked upset." Logan's heart sank, but he refused to give up. Night had fallen by the time Logan left the boxing gym. He walked along the dimly lit sidewalk, passing rows of closed shops and flickering neon signs. The energy of New York after dark usually invigorated him. He thrived on its pulse when securing late-night deals. But tonight, he felt only a hollow ache. Aaron was out there somewhere, alone. Unable to shake the concern gnawing at his thoughts, Logan took out his phone and tried calling Dina again, half hoping she might have uncovered more clues. Dina answered on the second ring, her voice steady with practiced calm. "I'm sorry," she said, preempting the question Logan was about to ask. "No new leads yet. The gym owner said Aaron left in a hurry. I'll keep digging." "Thank you." Logan's voice came out tight, barely above a whisper. He tucked his phone away, pausing beneath a flickering street lamp. The night breeze carried faint strains of music from a nearby bar. In his mind, he pictured Aaron drifting from one place to another, maybe trying to avoid the painful reminder of what had happened at the hotel. Logan clenched his fists. He was supposed to be a man who prided himself on solving problems swiftly. But this was different. A personal crisis beyond any simple fix. He found a diner still open and decided to step inside, lured by the idea of a hot drink. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, revealing cracked vinyl booths and a weary waitress behind the counter. Logan slid into a corner seat and ordered coffee. While he waited, he caught his reflection in the window's dark glass, eyes shadowed by worry, jaw tight. This wasn't how he expected to spend the evening before a major industry conference. At that thought, he closed his eyes, recalling how fleetingly such events had once fueled him. His entire identity revolved around Aurelius Innovations, every morning spent devouring market updates, every evening forging partnerships. Yet now, the memory of a teenager's accusing eyes overshadowed all of that. He'd always told himself that any regrets were just stepping stones to success, but seeing the undeniable pain etched into Aaron's face made him realize some regrets wound too deeply to bury. His coffee arrived, scalding and bitter, but he barely noticed the flavor. Around him, a handful of patrons sipped drinks or pecked at fries, each immersed in their own troubles. Logan wondered what they would think if they knew the polished CEO at the corner table was silently kicking himself for letting a possible son vanish into the night. He took out his phone, scanning for any missed messages. Nothing. He typed a short text to Anne, instructing her to maintain the impression he was busy strategizing for the summit. He couldn't risk his board or the press discovering his sudden shift in priorities. Then he dialed Celia at the Stella Vista. She picked up with a tentative greeting. "Any sign of him?" Logan asked. She apologized softly. "No, sir. I'll alert you if that changes." Hanging up, Logan realized he was on his own. Finishing his coffee, he drifted back outside. A passing taxi splashed through a puddle. For a moment, Logan contemplated returning to the penthouse suite, but the idea of all that empty opulence felt suffocating. Instead, he headed to his car, instructing the driver to make slow loops around the nearby streets. With the windows partially lowered, Logan scanned each sidewalk, hoping to spot Aaron's lanky frame or the same bellboy uniform he'd seen at the hotel. Block after block passed, dimly lit parks, rows of cramped storefronts, people who all seemed to be hurrying elsewhere. No Aaron. The tension grew unbearable, a relentless sense of guilt. It wasn't just about being denied the chance to talk. It was the knowledge that Aaron likely believed Logan had turned his back on him, just as some absent father might. Logan prided himself on never succumbing to despair, but this feeling, helplessness, gnawed at the edges of his composure. He could almost hear his own father's voice saying, "You'll turn out just like me," the old sneer that haunted his younger years. Shaking off the memory, Logan rubbed his eyes, willing himself to remain focused. Close to midnight, he finally conceded that an aimless search wouldn't conjure Aaron out of thin air. "Let's head back," he told the driver, forcing the words past his clenched jaw. When he reached the hotel, the staff regarded him with polite deference, though some looked curious about his agitation. He moved briskly through the lobby, ignoring the glances. Inside the elevator, he stared at his reflection in the polished walls. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, his tie hung loose, and there was a faint scuff on one cufflink. So much for the composed figure the business world expected. Stepping into his suite, he flicked on a lamp, the warm glow revealing a neatly arranged living area. A few crisp documents lay on the coffee table, strategic outlines for a keynote he no longer cared to rehearse. Collapsing into a leather chair, he loosened his tie completely. Maybe it was time to face the possibility that he had a son. He remembered a woman named Maria, though the memory was hazy. Her face flickered behind his eyelids, a brief fling amid conference chaos, a fleeting warmth he set aside because it didn't fit his climbing ambitions. Could he have left her with more than just a few heartfelt promises? The hours dragged until morning cast a dull light through the curtains. Logan's phone alarm buzzed, reminding him of the summit's opening speech. He debated skipping it altogether, but that would trigger speculation in the press. With a groan, he mustered the will to shower and dress, forcing himself into the crisp veneer he wore so well in public. The mirror reflected a powerful executive, tall, broad-shouldered, hair precisely combed. Only the haunted expression in his eyes betrayed his turmoil. Downstairs, he navigated the swirl of conference attendees. Cameras flashed and journalists tossed rapid-fire questions about Aurelius's next big move. Usually he thrived on that spotlight. Now each grin felt forced. He took the stage at 10 sharp, launching into a carefully modulated speech on the future of artificial intelligence in consumer markets. He cited data and introduced sleek slides, but his heart wasn't in it. By the end, polite applause echoed through the cavernous hall. Logan nodded, stepping away from the podium, relieved to escape the crowd. He slipped behind the curtain, ignoring well-wishers, heading straight for a side exit. The corridor was quiet, echoing with the distant hum of conversations. Suddenly, his phone buzzed in his suit pocket. Dina's name appeared on the screen. Logan answered at once, striding away from the staff bustling around. Her voice came across tense. "He's at the Eastport Teen Center in Harlem. They serve free breakfasts. Somebody recognized his description from the flyer I sent around." Logan's heart kicked into overdrive. "I'm on my way." He sprinted down the corridor, ignoring the startled looks from fellow executives. Within minutes, he was in the back seat of his car, urging his driver to hurry. The closer they got to the teen center, the tighter Logan's chest felt. He tried to picture how Aaron would react, likely with anger or mistrust. Still, he had to try. The Eastport Teen Center occupied a squat building that had once been a factory. Its gray brick walls were covered with colorful murals. Logan climbed out, inhaling stale city air. Inside, the space bustled with kids, many wearing worn clothes, chatting in hushed voices or lined up for a modest breakfast. A volunteer approached Logan with gentle caution. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Aaron Reyes," he said, scanning the crowd. The volunteer gave him a curious glance, but led him through a set of tables. Finally, at the far end, he spotted a familiar outline. Aaron slouched with a plate of uneaten toast, staring at the floor. Logan's breath caught. He steadied himself and approached, noticing Aaron's shoulders tense as though he sensed someone behind him. The boy turned, revealing exhaustion in every angle of his face. His eyes flickered with something sharp, a mixture of hurt and defiance. "You again?" he muttered, pushing his plate aside. Logan nodded, swallowing 1,000 apologies he didn't know how to voice. "I've been looking for you," he said softly. Aaron stood, not entirely meeting Logan's gaze. "Why? So you can tell me again that I'm lying?" His tone was laced with bitterness. "Or maybe you need to pay me off to keep quiet, right?" Logan's stomach twisted. "That's not it," he managed, forcing calm. "I want to help." Aaron scoffed. "Help? You made it pretty clear you don't want anything to do with me." He gave a hollow laugh. "Let me guess, you Googled my mom, realized she's gone. Now you feel guilty, is that it?" Logan drew a slow breath. "Yes, I feel guilty. And no, I didn't know she passed away until recently." but I'm not here to wave money at you or pretend everything's fine. I just want to talk, if you'll let me." Silence stretched. Other teens glanced over, curious about the sharply dressed man confronting one of their own. Aaron's mouth tightened, as if fighting an internal battle. At last he turned on his heel. "Outside," he said, nodding toward the door. "We'll talk outside." Logan followed him past a flickering overhead light and out onto the sidewalk. The morning sun was bright, but the air was cool. Aaron crossed his arms, scanning the street. He looked thinner than Logan recalled, an angry vulnerability in his posture. "All right," Aaron said. "Talk. Explain why you think you can just show up now, after all this time, and fix everything." Logan felt the question land with the force of a blow. He stood just a few feet away from Aaron on the sidewalk, studying the tight line of the teenager's jaw and the anger sparking behind his eyes. This was not a negotiation in some high-rise conference room where Logan could rely on strategic silence or blunt intimidation to get his way. Here, in front of a battered community center, he faced a boy whose every word was weighted with disappointment. He swallowed hard, trying to steady the knot in his throat. "I'm not saying I can fix everything," he began, keeping his voice low. "I'm only asking for the chance to figure out what went wrong. I truly had no idea about you. If your mother did tell me, I must have been too ignorant or self-absorbed to listen. Or maybe she never told me at all, afraid of how I'd react. Whatever the case, I failed. And for that, I'm sorry." Apologies never came naturally to Logan. He typically used them as part of a measured tactic, but this time he meant every word. He could see the skepticism on Aaron's face, and he braced himself for another cutting remark. Aaron crossed his arms over his chest, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "My mom always said you only cared about your next deal, your next big moment. That if she told you about me, you'd either deny it or toss money at the problem. And yeah, I hated you for that, but I wanted to see for myself if it was true." His voice trembled. "That's why I got the job at Stella Vista. The manager gave me a shot when she realized I needed money. I waited months for you to show up. And then, when you finally did, you refused to give me a tip, like I wasn't even worth pocket change. How can I believe anything you say now?" Logan winced at the memory of that moment in the hotel corridor. It was cruelly ironic that his single-minded drive, which had built his empire, might also have lost him the chance at a genuine human connection. He released a slow breath. "I can't change how you feel," he said, "but I can tell you that I haven't stopped thinking about you since that night. You deserve better than a father who doesn't show up. If there's any way I can prove I'm serious about this, I will." He wanted to reach out, maybe place a hand on Aaron's shoulder, but the boy looked as though he might bolt at any sign of physical closeness. "You expect me to just follow you?" Aaron asked, his voice twisting with bitterness. "Into what? Your penthouse suite? Then what? Play happy family while you go back to being a big-shot CEO?" Logan let out a ragged sigh. "I don't expect anything. All I'm asking is that you let me help you somehow. Let me give you a safe place to stay, food, maybe help you get into school or find the resources you need. That's not about playing family, it's about doing the right thing for once." Aaron's gaze flickered, and he looked away, chewing the inside of his lip. "You really didn't know about me at all?" he whispered, softer now, as if part of him needed to cling to the hope that there was some explanation. Logan slowly shook his head. "I can't recall a single word from your mother about a pregnancy. Maybe it was my fault for not listening. Maybe it was hers for not telling me. But I swear if I had known, I'd have acted differently. I'm not my father." Aaron's eyes darted back in surprise. "What do you mean?" Logan hesitated. "Let's just say I grew up with a man who never accepted responsibility for anything. I promised myself I'd never be like him. Yet here I am, worrying that I've become exactly that." If you give me a chance, I want to try to be something better. I'm not perfect, but I can learn. The teenager's stance softened almost imperceptibly, and he exhaled a shaky breath. For a moment, Logan saw the hurt child behind the tough exterior. They stood like that for several seconds, the city moving around them without pause, cars honking, people hurrying along the sidewalk. Finally, Aaron brushed a stray piece of hair from his forehead and murmured, "All right, one chance. But if you start acting like I'm just another problem you can sweep away, I'm gone. For good." Relief pulsed through Logan's chest, mixed with apprehension. He nodded, careful not to seem too eager. "Agreed. No more dismissing you." He gestured toward his waiting car. "You want to ride somewhere? Or we can talk more over a meal. Whatever you prefer. You've probably had a long night." Aaron glanced at the sedan idling at the curb, its polished exterior a stark contrast to the rundown buildings. "I haven't slept much in a while," he admitted, rubbing his eyes. "I've been couch hopping, sometimes just staying awake all night. I don't want your pity, but He paused, swallowing the rest of the sentence. Logan recognized that swallowing is pride or the fear of losing dignity. He lifted his palms in a gesture of understanding. "No pity here, just a place you can crash if you want it." Aaron finally nodded, albeit reluctantly. They walked to the car and Aaron slipped into the back seat. Logan followed, telling his driver to head to the Stella Vista. The ride was quiet. Aaron stared out the window, jaw set, while Logan silently wondered whether taking him back to the same hotel was wise. But it was the only suitable place he had in the city at the moment. He resolved to handle things delicately. When they arrived, Logan stepped out, offering Aaron a quick, uncertain smile. The doorman blinked at the teenager who accompanied the powerful CEO but said nothing. Inside the elevator, Logan saw Aaron's shoulders tense again as though bracing for scorn. Logan cleared his throat. "This is just temporary," he said gently. "I can make arrangements for something else if staying here makes you uncomfortable." Aaron shrugged. "It's fine. I've seen worse places." A small, humorless laugh escaped Logan. "Right." Once they reached the suite, Logan opened the door and turned on a lamp. The same luxurious rooms welcomed them. Plush furniture, sweeping city views, a spacious bedroom meant for corporate power brokers. Aaron hovered near the entrance, uncertain. Logan motioned to the couch. "You can take the bedroom if you want," he offered. "I'll sleep out here." Aaron shook his head. "I'll crash on the couch. I'm not taking your bed." Without waiting for an argument, the teen dropped his worn duffel bag onto the floor by the coffee table. Logan decided not to push it. Letting Aaron set his own boundaries mattered more than any show of hospitality. Instead, he ordered room service, something simple like sandwiches and water, and retreated to the opposite side of the living room to give Aaron space. They ate in silence, neither sure how to bridge the distance. Finally, Logan gathered the courage to ask, "What happened to your mother? I only just found out she passed." The question was sensitive, but he needed to understand. Aaron looked down at his plate, face pinched with grief. "Cancer. She didn't tell me at first because she thought she could beat it. By the time she had no choice, we didn't have money for the best treatment." He brushed at his eye with the back of his hand, as though determined not to shed tears in front of Logan. "She tried to keep working, but eventually it got worse and she couldn't fight anymore. After she died, I was on my own." Logan's heart twisted. The knowledge that during those years he was closing deals and expanding Aurelius, a woman he might have once cared for, was fighting a losing battle alone weighed heavily on him. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. He thought about offering to pay for funeral costs, but it felt too late, too much like an afterthought. Instead, he watched the flickering pain in Aaron's eyes and wished he had some genuine comfort to give. Aaron set his plate aside. "So," he asked, a challenge creeping back into his voice. "What do you plan to do with me now?" Announce to the world that Logan Perry has a random teenager from a woman he barely remembers. Logan flinched at the barb. "Nothing like that," he said. "My public image doesn't matter right now. I'm worried about you. You're still a minor. You should be in school, or at least have a safe place to live. Let me at least help you figure that out." Aaron dropped his gaze. "I'm almost 18. Nobody's forced me to go back to school. I couldn't keep up with the schedule anyway. When Mom was sick, I skipped a lot to stay with her. By the time He broke off, taking a breath. By then, it felt too late. What's the point?" Logan fought an urge to give a pep talk about the importance of education. Instead, he tried a calmer approach. "The point is, your future matters. Maybe it's not standard high school anymore. Maybe we look at a GED program or something flexible. But I promise you, you'll want a chance to stand on your own 2 feet one day. Let me help." Aaron's scowl softened a fraction. "Why do you care? You hardly know me." Logan leaned forward, clasping his hands. "Because it's my fault you've had to face so much alone. And because I do want to know you, if you'll let me. I'm trying, Aaron. That's all I can say." The teen let out a long breath, letting the silence fill the space before giving a brief nod. It wasn't agreement or acceptance, but it was something better than outright rejection. In the morning, Logan woke to the sound of muted footsteps in the living area. His eyes flickered open, and for a moment he forgot where he was. Then he remembered. The hotel suite, with Aaron asleep on the couch. An uneasy relief settled over him. At least the kid hadn't slipped out during the night. Dressing quickly, he stepped into the living room to find Aaron standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing at the sprawl of skyscrapers glittering in the early light. The teen wore the same clothes he'd had yesterday, washed-out jeans and a too-large hoodie. Logan cleared his throat, wondering if he should greet him casually or offer something more formal. Aaron turned, fatigue etched under his eyes. "Couldn't sleep," he said softly, as though an explanation were required. Logan nodded, understanding that neither of them had the luxury of peace of mind. They ended up ordering a simple breakfast from room service. While they waited, Logan busied himself turning on the TV, flicking through business channels out of habit. The financial analyst's words barely registered. He was too aware of Aaron's presence, the boy's discomfort pressing like static in the air. Logan tried to conjure conversation topics, but each idea felt hollow. School, sports, pop culture, he had no idea what might spark real dialogue. His usual strategy was controlling the flow of talk, using questions to steer outcomes. But with Aaron, everything felt precarious. One wrong phrase, and the teen might bolt. When the knock on the door finally came, Logan opened it to a neatly dressed server wheeling in scrambled eggs, toast, fruit, and orange juice. Aaron eyed the plates with a hunger he seemed determined to hide. They ate in awkward silence, the only interruptions being the faint clink of silverware. Eventually, Aaron pushed his empty plate aside and asked, "So, what happens if I stay here a few days? Will you have to tell people about me?" Logan paused, setting down his glass of juice. "Not unless you want me to," he replied. "People will probably ask questions if I keep extending my stay, but I can manage that for a while. My job might require me to fly back out west soon, though. I have a home there. I mean a house. I mostly live alone." Aaron gave a guarded nod, not committing to any reaction. "So you'd drag me across the country? Just like that?" Logan shook his head. "Not drag. It's your call. But if you decide you don't want to be here in the city on your own anymore, then yes, I'd like you to come. We can figure out next steps together." The conversation tapered off again. After breakfast, Aaron gravitated to the couch. Logan busied himself with phone calls, pacing near the suite's windows as he handled urgent business demands. Halfway through a tense negotiation call, he noticed Aaron's gaze darting to him. Rather than barking out orders in his usual clipped style, Logan softened his tone. He found himself turning away so Aaron wouldn't hear the sharper edges of corporate dealings. It was as though part of him wanted to shield the boy from the abrasive world that had once consumed his entire being. When he finally hung up, he was left with a renewed awareness of Aaron's presence and a mounting desire to bridge their gap. By noon, restlessness itched through the suite. Logan realized it might help to get some fresh air. "You want to step out for a bit?" he asked, trying to sound casual. Aaron shrugged. "Where to?" "Anywhere you'd like," Logan said, though he knew the suggestion was broad. Aaron considered, then murmured, "Let's just walk around, I don't know. Maybe check out a bookstore or something." Surprised, Logan nodded. "All right. There's a good one a few blocks away. They have a coffee shop inside." Aaron didn't respond, but he slipped on his jacket and followed Logan into the elevator. Outside, the October air held a crisp bite. The sidewalks buzzed with midday energy. Tourists snapping photos, professionals hurrying between meetings, vendors selling roasted nuts. Aaron kept his hands in his pockets, face guarded, but at least he was alongside Logan. They reached the bookstore, a multi-level space teeming with colorful displays. Aaron drifted toward the fiction aisles, and Logan followed a step behind. "Do you like reading?" Logan asked, trying for conversation. Aaron shrugged. "I do. My mom read a lot when she wasn't too tired. We'd share books sometimes." Logan felt a pang, imagining the closeness they'd had, a closeness he'd never shared with either of them. He offered a tight smile. "That's nice. Any favorite authors?" Aaron rattled off a few names. Logan recognized none but nodded politely, content that the teen was at least opening up. They spent an hour browsing. Aaron flipped through pages, occasionally letting his guard slip as he found something interesting. Logan wanted to buy him every title he touched, but he held back, not wanting to turn a simple outing into a show of wealth. Still, when Aaron lingered over a paperback copy of an acclaimed novel, Logan quietly purchased it at the counter. Aaron shot him a half-hearted glare upon seeing the bag but didn't reject it. "Thanks," he muttered, which Logan took as a small victory. They stopped by the coffee shop inside, and Aaron insisted on ordering for himself, paying with a handful of crumpled bills from his pocket. Logan waited, uneasy, but let him maintain that shred of independence. Returning to the street, they eased into a stroll along a row of tall glass buildings. The tension between them, though still present, felt less suffocating. Aaron chewed on his lower lip as though grappling with something. "You know," he said at last, voice low, "I keep trying to piece together how you and my mom ended up in that situation. She never gave me details, just that she met a man who promised the world, and then it all ended." Logan swallowed, not sure how to handle the question. "It was, a long time ago," he answered, picking words carefully. "I traveled for conferences and big corporate events, and it's true I was ambitious, maybe too ambitious. I met people everywhere I went. I guess your mom and I must have had something special that I neglected. I can't remember the specifics, which is my fault." Aaron didn't speak for a moment, letting the honesty settle between them. Then he exhaled. "I used to imagine what you'd be like, some deadbeat maybe, but you're not exactly what I pictured." Logan tensed. "Is that good or bad?" Aaron gave a small shrug. "I'm not sure yet." Despite the uncertainty, Logan was strangely grateful. At least it wasn't an outright condemnation. They headed back to Stella Vista in the late afternoon. Once inside the suite, Logan's phone flashed with several missed calls from board members. He frowned, knowing he couldn't ignore business forever. Mumbling an apology, he took one of the calls in the bedroom. Aaron settled on the couch with his new book. The conversation was lengthy and fraught with complexities about a partnership deal. As Logan tried to juggle these demands, a realization hit him. Everything he'd once deemed urgent now felt secondary. He still cared about Aurelius, but the weight of fatherhood, unproven though it might be, felt more pressing than any contract. He murmured an excuse to end the call sooner than usual, ignoring the mild exasperation of the board members on the other end. Emerging back into the living room, he found Aaron pacing, hands stuffed in his hoodie pockets. "Everything okay?" Logan asked. Aaron shrugged, but there was anxiety in his eyes. "I was just thinking about going to see my mom's grave soon. It's in a tiny cemetery outside the city. I haven't been in a while, and I guess, well, I feel like I should." Logan noticed the flicker of pain beneath Aaron's cool exterior. "I'll take you," he offered, without hesitation. "Or I can stay back if you'd rather go alone." Aaron pressed his lips together. Maybe you could come with me. I'd like to show you. She used to talk about wanting to see her family back in California someday, but then she got sick. She never made it." His voice caught. Logan could see him trying to compose himself. "Of course," Logan said softly. "We can go whenever you're ready." Aaron nodded, his gaze distant. In that moment, Logan sensed the gravity of the invitation, the chance to share an intimately painful part of Aaron's world. He knew better than to push or pry. He merely waited for the boy to speak on his own terms. Eventually, Aaron cleared his throat. "It's kind of far. We'll have to drive a couple of hours. You're sure you don't mind?" "I don't mind," Logan said. "We'll leave tomorrow, if that works for you." Aaron's eyes held a flicker of something almost like relief. "Yeah, tomorrow." That night passed in a gentle hush. Aaron read in the living room, flipping through pages with restless energy, while Logan slouched in an armchair, typing short responses to emails he could no longer muster the enthusiasm to answer in full. The city outside glowed, a tapestry of lights that once made Logan feel invincible. But now, as he cast occasional glances at Aaron's silhouette, he realized how much had changed. He was no longer the lone mogul, untethered to anything but success. A boy's vulnerable presence anchored him in a new reality. When the clock neared midnight, Aaron finally set aside his book. He looked at Logan, his earlier suspicion somewhat dulled by exhaustion. "Good night," he said quietly, crossing the room to the couch. Logan nodded, returning the sentiment. In bed, Logan wondered if he would ever truly sleep again without the weight of past mistakes pressing him. But at least tomorrow they'd face something meaningful, maybe painful but real. He flicked off the light, determined not to fail Aaron again. The morning came with a sky of scattered clouds promising neither sunshine nor rain. Logan rose early and double-checked the car he had arranged for the trip. Part of him wondered if Aaron might change his mind. Yet when he returned to the suite, he found the teenager awake, gazing at the city from behind the glass. Aaron wore a solemn expression, as though steeling himself for the day's journey. They grabbed a quick breakfast in silence. Logan offered a few words. "Did you sleep okay? Would you like something else?" But Aaron responded only with nods or single-word answers. It wasn't hostility, just the tension of a person preparing to confront something weighty. After breakfast, Logan guided him toward the private sedan waiting outside. The driver stood respectfully by the door, and Aaron climbed in without a word. Logan slid in after him, giving a terse nod to the driver. Traffic out of Manhattan was congested, as always, but eventually they hit open road, a sweep of highways bordered by signs for distant towns. Inside the car, Logan fought his own nervousness. unable to predict how the visit might go. He tried to break the ice. "How far is it?" Aaron answered quietly. "A couple hours, maybe a bit more." Then he lapsed back into silence, his gaze trained on the rolling scenery. They stopped once for gas, and Aaron stepped out to stretch his legs. Standing by the car, Logan noticed a cluster of crows perched on a wire overhead. A stark reminder that the day felt grim. A memory surfaced. As a teen, Logan had dreaded cemeteries. His own mother's grave was in a remote plot, and after she died, he had found it excruciating to visit, convinced that stepping onto those grounds only magnified the absence of what he'd lost. Now he wondered if that same heaviness colored Aaron's every breath. With a resigned sigh, he said nothing, simply waiting until Aaron climbed back inside. Around noon, the sedan turned onto a smaller road that cut through farmland and patches of woodland. They passed modest houses, some with chipped paint and sagging porches, a world away from the city's glamour. Finally, the driver slowed, pointing to a sign that read Oakvale Cemetery in faded letters. A short gravel path led into the grounds. Logan could see an iron gate standing half open, its hinges rusted. Aaron directed the driver to pull over near a tall cedar. "We can walk from here," he said, voice muted. They got out. The driver stood by the car, sensing this was private. Logan and Aaron moved across the gravel, their footsteps crunching in the hushed air. Beyond the gate stretched rows of headstones, many worn with age, nestled among tall grass and stunted trees. A sense of calm, tinged with sorrow, hung over everything. The occasional bird call broke the silence, and a breeze carried the scent of damp earth. Aaron led them deeper, navigating past family plots marked by weather-beaten granite. Eventually, he stopped by a small rectangular marker, its lettering clean and new. Maria Reyes, beloved mother. Logan swallowed, a wave of unfamiliar guilt prickling his skin. This was the final resting place of a woman whose life he'd once touched, yet he'd never come, never offered help. He stood a step behind Aaron, letting the teen approach alone. For a long moment, Aaron did nothing, just stared at the headstone. Then he crouched, brushing off a few fallen leaves. "Hey, Mom," he whispered. "I'm back." Logan heard the tremor in his voice. Everything about the boy's posture spoke of heartbreak, shoulders tight, fingers trembling slightly as they hovered near the marker. Logan felt an ache in his chest as well. Aaron sniffed, clearing his throat. "I brought someone," he said, glancing at Logan. Well, we're not sure what we are yet, but I guess he's the man you mentioned, the one who was never around. I thought maybe—" He trailed off, words crumbling into silence. Logan looked away, giving the boy what privacy he could. When Aaron finally stood, Logan stepped closer, feeling an odd compulsion to speak to Maria's memory, but no words came. What could he say to a woman he'd left behind so thoroughly that he hadn't even known about her illness? The only sentence that formed in his mind was, "I'm sorry I wasn't there." Yet it sounded hollow. Instead, he bowed his head, letting the weight of regret settle, acknowledging that some wounds might never fully heal. Aaron's voice cut the stillness. "She wanted to be buried somewhere quiet," he said, gesturing around. "She said she didn't want a big city cemetery, too crowded. She liked this place, thought it was peaceful." Logan nodded. "It's beautiful," he managed, though the word felt insufficient. They lingered a while longer, the hush occasionally broken by the rustle of leaves. Eventually, Aaron drew a shaky breath. "I should have come sooner, it's just, every time I do, it hurts more." His eyes glimmered with unshed tears. "I wish she could see that I'm okay, or that I'm trying to be. But part of me hates you for not being here when it mattered." Logan swallowed, letting that sting hit him full force. "I understand," he said softly. You have every right to feel that way. All I can do is promise I won't run now." Aaron lowered his gaze, saying nothing in reply. Logan forced himself to be patient, to leave space for Aaron's emotions. A few minutes passed in silence before Aaron crouched again, pressing his hand against the grave marker in a final gesture of goodbye. Then he rose. "Let's go," he muttered, turning abruptly. Logan followed, half wishing he could leave some flowers or token, but aware that it would appear performative. The sincerity he needed to show wasn't about gestures. It was about proving he would stay. They returned to the car, the driver tactfully remaining silent. Logan offered Aaron a bottle of water, which he accepted with a weary nod. For the first few miles, neither said a word. The sedan rattled over the gravel onto the main road, and fields whizzed by in a blur of muted browns and greens. Logan, wanting to help but unsure how, asked quietly, "You want anything to eat? We can stop somewhere." Aaron shrugged, gaze distant. Not really hungry right now. The drive stretched, and Logan found his mind drifting to the woman he'd glimpsed in half-remembered visions. Was she lively with quick laughter, or was she soft-spoken and earnest? He couldn't piece her face together with certainty. Only random flashes of a warm smile, a fleeting hotel bar, a conversation that melted into the haze of his younger life. Now those fragments felt precious. If only he'd been less consumed with chasing success, maybe he'd have recognized he was leaving behind something more important. Eventually, they merged onto a larger highway, traffic growing heavier. Logan's phone buzzed with text notifications from Anne about the conference, but he ignored them. Aaron stared at the seat in front of him, arms folded tightly, like he was holding himself together. Logan spoke hesitantly. "It means a lot that you let me come today. I know it's hard to share that part of your life with a stranger." Aaron's lips thinned into a grim line. "You're not exactly a stranger," he said softly. "But you're not exactly my dad either. I don't know what you are, to be honest." The statement stung, though Logan understood the sentiment. "I want to be someone you can depend on, if you'll let me," he said. "I won't pressure you into calling me anything you're not comfortable with." They fell quiet again. Miles rolled by, and eventually Aaron broke the silence. "You said you have a house on the West Coast. What's it like?" Logan seized on the question like a lifeline. "It's on the outskirts of San Francisco, modern architecture, glass walls, that kind of thing. I mostly use it for sleeping or hosting the occasional investor dinner. It's too big for just one person. There's a nice view, though." Aaron nodded, expression unreadable. "So, basically you live like a king." The remark wasn't exactly resentful, more a sad acknowledgement that Logan inhabited a completely different reality. "Sometimes," Logan allowed, "it feels empty, though I used to tell myself that's just the price of success. Lately I've been wondering if I was wrong." Aaron gazed out the window, letting the conversation fade. By late afternoon, they reached the city limits, merging back into Manhattan traffic. Horns blared, and pedestrians hurried along sidewalks. The jarring shift from the cemetery's quiet weighed on them both. Eventually, the car halted outside Stella Vista. Aaron stepped onto the curb, taking in the familiar facade. Logan, after paying the driver, joined him. "I'm going to handle a few calls," Logan said. "You can go up to the suite if you want, or if you'd rather walk around, that's okay too. Just, please come back." Aaron glanced sidelong at him. "I'm not running away right now," he answered, subdued. "Thanks for going with me, I guess." With that, he disappeared into the hotel lobby, leaving Logan alone on the sidewalk. Standing there, Logan watched people stream past, each face a reminder of how vast and indifferent the city could be. He inhaled the faint smell of exhaust and lingering food carts, feeling the ache of complicated responsibility deepen in his chest. Logan lingered on the sidewalk, letting the bustle of cabs and pedestrians swirl around him. A lifetime ago, he had reveled in this city's electric pace. Now he felt only its frenetic indifference, a reminder that while the world moved on, he was stuck in a moment he barely understood. After a few minutes, he headed inside the Stella Vista. The lobby, with its polished floors and soft piano music, felt no more welcoming than the street. He saw business associates milling by the reception desk, but he swiftly turned down a side corridor, avoiding interaction. The last thing he wanted was to feign small talk about quarterly growth projections. Up in the suite, he half expected to find Aaron's belongings gone. Relief washed through him when he discovered the teenager seated on the couch. The television was on but muted, displaying a rerun of some classic comedy. Aaron glanced over briefly, then returned his gaze to the screen as if Logan's presence hardly mattered. Logan took the unspoken hint, retreating to the bedroom to place a call he'd been avoiding. His assistant, Anne, answered in her typical brisk manner. "Mr. Perry, I was about to call you. The conference organizers asked if you'd be attending the closing gala. Several top investors are expecting to see you." Anne paused. "Should I inform them you'll pass?" Logan pressed his free hand to his forehead. "Tell them I'll be there, but only for a short time, and push back any crucial meetings. I'm dealing with a personal situation." Anne hesitated. "Yes, sir. Just be aware, people are already talking about your absence during some of the panels." "I'll handle the fallout," Logan said, then ended the call abruptly. Work crises felt trivial in the shadow of what he was grappling with. He wandered back into the living area. Aaron still stared at the screen, although his focus seemed elsewhere. Logan dropped into an armchair, attempting a steady breath. "So, I need to show my face at an investor event tonight," Logan said quietly. "You're welcome to stay here. Order room service if you want, no pressure." Aaron switched off the TV and turned to face him. "You're going back to that big summit, right?" He sounded unenthused, as if the subject hardly interested him. Logan nodded. "Just for a couple of hours, then I'll come back." A flicker of uncertainty passed through Aaron's eyes. "What if people ask who I am?" "I've been around you for the past few days." "Stella Vista staff are discreet," Logan assured him, though he realized that might not be enough if word leaked. Still, he had no intention of parading Aaron in front of anyone. "Just lay low if you don't want to be seen." Aaron hesitated, then gave a single shrug. "It's not like I have anywhere else to go." Logan's chest tightened at the quiet resignation in those words. He thought of saying something encouraging, maybe offering cash for Aaron to buy something new in the hotel shops, but he feared it would come off as an insult. Instead, he just nodded. "I'll be back as soon as I can." Hours later, Logan found himself in a swirl of designer suits, crystal chandeliers, and champagne flutes. The gala hall sat atop one of Manhattan's newest luxury towers, offering panoramic views of the city's skyline. The hush of polite chatter hovered around the polished marble floors, while servers glided with trays of hors d'oeuvres. Logan circulated among CEOs, investors, and analysts, projecting a confidence he did not feel. Every now and then, someone would clap him on the shoulder and comment on Aurelius' innovations, fishing for details about upcoming ventures. He supplied non-committal answers, mind drifting to Aaron alone in the hotel suite. Midway through the evening, Logan excused himself to a quiet corner. The energy of the room felt suffocating, each conversation a superficial dance of money and power. It struck him how little such things mattered in the face of personal connections he'd neglected for years. He noticed a colleague, Mark Stenton, approaching. Mark was a venture capitalist known for sniffing out vulnerabilities. Logan steeled himself. "Logan," Mark drawled, swirling champagne in his glass. "I've been hearing rumors you're distracted lately. Everything all right?" The man's smirk made Logan bristle. He forced a polite smile. Just busy. Nothing to worry about. Mark raised an eyebrow. You missed a few sessions earlier this week. Word is you might have personal issues. He gave a mock sympathetic tilt of his head. I hope it's nothing serious. Logan swallowed the urge to snap back. Personal issues are personal, Mark. The pointed remark stopped any further prying. Mark, clearly disappointed, nodded and drifted away, leaving Logan's heart thudding with frustration. The high-stakes environment of these galas once energized him. Now it felt like a shallow facade, a game he had mastered but no longer cared to play. Finally, after exchanging a few more obligatory pleasantries, Logan made his escape. He declined a ride from a colleague and instead opted to walk the 10 blocks to the hotel. The night air stung his cheeks, and the city glowed in that neon mixture of promise and illusion. Before, he would have felt a surge of pride in everything he'd built. Now his thoughts remained with a teenager uncertain whether to trust him. He returned to find the suite dark, a single lamp illuminating the living room. Aaron had fallen asleep on the couch, hoodie scrunched behind his head like a makeshift pillow. Logan stepped closer, noticing the faint shadows under the boy's eyes, the worry etched into his brow even in rest. Logan sighed, grabbing a spare blanket from the closet and draping it over him. A few pages from the bookstore novel lay scattered across the cushion, probably an extra leaflet or advertisement. Carefully, Logan gathered them and set them on the table. He wondered what Aaron dreamed about, if anything. In his own room, Logan shed his suit jacket and tie, sinking heavily onto the bed. His phone buzzed with post-gala messages, but he ignored them. Instead, he found himself scrolling through old emails in search of some record, any mention of a Maria Reyes from ages past, but it was like sifting through a desert. He almost wished he could recall the exact moment he met her, the details of their conversations, the shape of her smile. Perhaps then he could make sense of the last 18 years. But all he had were pieces that refused to fit together. Sleep refused to come, and after an hour of tossing, Logan padded back out into the living area. Aaron still slept, one arm dangling off the couch. Logan gazed at him, contemplating the delicate threads that had led them here. He envisioned an alternate timeline, a young Logan who, upon learning of Maria's pregnancy, chose responsibility over ambition. Would that version of Logan have become the successful CEO he was now? Or would he have found a fuller, more grounded form of success altogether? Such thoughts were futile, yet they pressed on him. He turned off the lamp, letting the city's glow provide faint illumination, and returned to bed, determined to at least rest. After a few deep breaths, he finally drifted into a fitful sleep. Morning came quickly. Logan woke to find Aaron not on the couch. His heart lurched. Had the teen vanished again? But then he heard a rustling from the kitchenette area. Slipping into a shirt, Logan went out to find Aaron rummaging through the fridge, emerging with a carton of juice. "Sorry," Aaron mumbled. "I got hungry." Logan's tense posture eased. "That's fine. I should stock better food for you. I wasn't sure what you liked." Aaron wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Don't bother. I'm leaving soon anyway." The statement tightened Logan's stomach. "Where are you going?" he asked, trying to keep his tone even. Aaron shrugged. "I can't stay here forever, right? I don't belong in fancy suites. It's not me." Logan frowned. "You don't have to leave. I meant it when I said we'd figure out something more permanent. An apartment. Or you could come west with me if you'd rather. I just don't want you back on the streets." Aaron set the carton down, frustration flashing in his eyes. "You can't just fix my life. It's not that simple." Logan nodded slowly, mindful not to push. "I know it's not simple, but I'm trying to help. What do you want, Aaron? Tell me, and I'll respect it." Aaron's shoulders slumped, some of the fight going out of him. "I don't know," he admitted. "I've spent so long bouncing from place to place that I can't picture a normal life. Staying with you feels weird, but I also know I have nowhere else." Logan folded his arms, leaning against the counter. "Well, how about this? Let's find you a stable place here in the city so you don't feel pressured by my world. I can help with rent. You'd have your own space, and if you decide you need more, we'll handle it. But I'll still be around if that's what you want." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Aaron's face. "You'd do that for me? Just like that?" Logan exhaled. "It's not just like that. I know trust is earned. But yes, I'd do it. It's the least I can do. We'd also talk about school. If not high school, then maybe a GED track." Aaron's brow furrowed. "And what if I just take advantage of you, run off with your money? How do you know I won't?" Logan offered a sad half-smile. "I don't. But at some point, I have to believe in you. That's what parents do, right?" The word parents weighed heavily in the air, a label neither was sure they could claim. For a moment, Aaron said nothing, eyes locked on the juice carton like it held answers. Then softly, he said, "Okay, we can try that." By the time the sun rose high enough to light the skyscraper's reflective windows, Logan was already immersed in a plan. He called upon a local realtor he knew from previous property deals, Claire Vinson, a no-nonsense professional with a knack for finding diamonds in rough neighborhoods. He asked her to locate something modest but safe, a place Aaron could call his own without feeling smothered by Logan's wealth. When Claire probed for further details, Logan kept it vague. A young relative needing independence, looking to enroll in a GED program. She promised to gather listings by the following afternoon. Aaron lingered in the suite as Logan made calls, occasionally flipping through the channels on TV. The offer of an apartment left him unsure how to feel, torn between the self-reliant pride he'd clung to and the weary relief of having a real roof over his head. He'd never admitted it aloud, but the streets were a cold reminder that he was alone. Now there was a sliver of hope, yet also a gnawing fear that any misstep could yank this new opportunity away. After finishing his final call, Logan joined Aaron by the window. He gestured toward the world outside, bustling with midday vitality. "Claire's working on a few options," he said. "We can see them tomorrow. In the meantime, there's no rush for you to leave here." Aaron nodded, offering no objection, and Logan exhaled in relief. Every small concession felt like progress, though he remained aware that trust could vanish in an instant if he pushed the wrong button. They ventured out for lunch, choosing a low-key diner rather than a corporate eatery. As they stepped inside, the smell of frying onions and toasted bread greeted them. The environment was a mishmash of old posters and wobbly tables. A waitress with a tired smile guided them to a booth in the corner. Logan was conscious of how they might appear, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit, a teenager in second-hand clothes, but no one seemed to care. Aaron slid into the booth, picking up the menu and studying it intently as though memorizing each price. Logan set aside his phone, an uncharacteristic move. "Order whatever you like," he said softly. Aaron's eyes darted over the numbers, clearly wrestling with the notion of letting someone else foot the bill. In the end, he settled on a burger and fries. Logan chose a grilled chicken sandwich, and when the waitress bustled away, a fragile quiet settled over them. "You could have brought me somewhere more upscale," Aaron remarked, fiddling with the napkin dispenser. Logan offered a small smile. "I don't want you feeling like you have to dress up or pretend. We both need normalcy right now." Aaron shrugged. "Normal's never been my strong suit." The admission hung in the air, each word resonating with the truth that his life had been anything but easy. Logan recalled his own teenage years, living in a cramped apartment with a mother who worked 2 jobs and a father who only occasionally drifted in, drunk or angry. He remembered vowing never to become that man, and yet here he was, stumbling as he tried to connect with the son he'd abandoned without even realizing it. Their food arrived. Aaron ate quickly, as if worried the meal might disappear, while Logan took measured bites, scanning Aaron's face for any sign of contentment. After a few minutes, Aaron broke the silence. "You said your father left you, right?" Logan paused. "He left and came back off and on. Every time he returned, he claimed he'd changed. But it was always the same. More excuses, more broken promises." Aaron considered that, pushing a fry through a blob of ketchup. "So you do get why I'm suspicious then?" Logan nodded, a twist of remorse in his chest. "Yes, I do. I can't erase that. All I can do is try not to follow his path." Aaron didn't reply, but there was no scorn in his expression, just a tentative acceptance. When they finished, Logan paid, and Aaron insisted on leaving the tip this time, which Logan allowed without protest. They stepped outside to the street's lively chatter. They returned to the hotel, where a manager flagged Logan down, reminding him about a scheduled appearance. He'd nearly forgotten that the conference demanded one final panel from him. Aaron listened quietly, then mumbled he'd be upstairs. Logan promised he'd wrap things quickly. As the manager escorted Logan away, he caught a glimpse of Aaron's guarded expression, already bracing for the possibility that Logan would vanish again. The final panel took place in a sleek conference room filled with polished tables and name placards. Power players in suits eyed Logan with curiosity, whispering about his recent absences. He forced a professional composure, delivering a concise presentation on Aurelius Innovations' upcoming strategies. The applause afterward felt hollow. He hurried through post-event handshakes, determined not to linger. Mark Stenton tried to corner him once more with pointed questions, but Logan feigned urgency and brushed past. Let them gossip, he told himself. Aaron needed him more than these people did. When Logan returned to the suite, he was relieved to find Aaron still there. The teen was on the balcony, leaning against the railing as he gazed at the city skyline. The late afternoon sun cast the glass towers in shimmering gold. Logan stepped out beside him, inhaling the crisp air. "Not too overwhelmed?" he asked, nodding at the labyrinth of buildings below. Aaron shrugged. "It's just a lot to take in sometimes. I've never stayed anywhere so high up." Logan leaned forward, recalling his early days building Aurelius, the thrill of conquering each rung on the corporate ladder, the sense of accomplishment that came from viewing the city from an expensive vantage. Now that same view served as a bittersweet testament to how far he'd come, perhaps at a greater cost than he'd realized. "Tomorrow we can start looking at apartments," he said. "I'll make sure we pick one in a neighborhood that's safe. We can get you a bed, a desk, anything else you need." Aaron nodded, still studying the skyline. "Okay, I appreciate it," he added softly. Logan felt an odd warmth at the boy's words, aware that thank you might not come easily to someone who'd had to fight for everything. Night settled, and the suite fell into a gentle hush. They ordered takeout for dinner, bringing in Chinese food that they ate from paper boxes while the TV played softly in the background. It was simpler than room service, but it felt more comfortable. Aaron mentioned a time he and his mother had shared cheap takeout, huddled around a small table in their apartment. He didn't elaborate further, but the nostalgia in his voice suggested a rare moment of happiness. Logan felt a pang. How many memories like that had he missed? After dinner, Aaron slipped into the bedroom for a shower, leaving Logan to tidy up. While throwing away the cartons, Logan's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. Claire had texted a list of possible places in Queens and Brooklyn with short notes on each. Perfect for a teen, near bus lines, basic but clean, a little small but cheap to maintain. Logan typed back a quick thanks, followed by a plan to meet the next day. With any luck, they'd find something Aaron liked. The bathroom door opened, releasing a cloud of steam. Aaron emerged wearing one of Logan's oversized t-shirts. It dwarfed his lean frame, but at least it was clean. He noticed Logan glancing at the phone. "Is that her?" he asked. "The realtor lady?" Logan nodded. "We have 4 or 5 potential spots. We can check them out tomorrow. How do you feel about that?" Aaron lowered his gaze. "I guess I'm nervous. I've never really done something like this. Last time I had a stable place, my mom was alive. I keep thinking this might disappear." Logan wanted to assure him it wouldn't, but words felt insufficient. Instead, he said, "Let's just go step by step. I'm not going anywhere, and if you end up hating the place, we'll find a different one." Aaron sighed. "You talk like it's so easy. I don't even know if I can trust you, no offense." Logan's voice was gentle. "None taken. Trust takes time." A subdued silence followed, interrupted only by the hum of the hotel's heating system. Logan picked at a stray thread on the sofa cushion. "So after we find the apartment, maybe we look into a GED program. No pressure, but it might help you later on." Aaron gave a half-hearted nod. "Yeah, maybe. It's weird to think about the future when I was just trying to survive day by day." Logan felt a pinch in his chest. He recognized that Aaron's reality for so long had been a precarious one, tethered to the question of where he would sleep at night. Now Logan was proposing an entirely new framework, a stable address, educational possibilities, even the distant notion of college or a career. He sensed the weight of that transition on Aaron's shoulders, the fear that it would all collapse if Logan's attention wavered. "One step at a time," Logan repeated. They settled into an uneasy calm, the suite's lights casting soft shadows on the walls. Aaron flipped channels again, but soon set the remote aside. "I'll crash in the bedroom tonight," he muttered. "I'm tired of sleeping on couches." Logan nodded. "Go ahead. I'll take the couch this time." As Aaron vanished behind the door, Logan watched him go, the swirl of fatherly instincts and personal guilt churning inside. He couldn't help but wonder if a single day's gesture of kindness could ever redeem years of absence. But for now, he clung to the hope that small steps repeated often enough might lead them somewhere better. The next morning dawned with a chilly grayness that blanketed the city. Logan woke on the couch, stiff-limbed from an uneasy sleep. He glanced at the bedroom door, not entirely sure if Aaron would still be there. But when the teen emerged a moment later, Logan felt an inexplicable rush of relief. They grabbed a quick breakfast in the hotel lounge, coffee for Logan, hot chocolate for Aaron, plus pastries neither of them seemed very enthusiastic about. Then it was time to meet Claire, the realtor. She'd arranged for a car to shuttle them between properties, and as Logan and Aaron stepped out into the brisk air, Logan could sense the boys' apprehension. Claire waited by the curb, greeting them with a professional yet friendly smile. She was a petite woman with short hair, wearing a stylish coat. Aaron looked her over with guarded interest. "Aaron," she said warmly, offering her hand. "Claire Vinson. I help people find the right place to call home." Aaron shook her hand hesitantly, nodding in reply. Logan appreciated her low-key approach. No fuss, no invasive questions. The first stop was a small building near Astoria. The exterior needed a paint job, but the block was relatively quiet, with a deli and a laundromat nearby. Claire unlocked the door to a vacant one-bedroom. The living area was modest. Wood floors scuffed in spots, and the kitchen appliances were dated. Still, the windows let in decent light, and it was far from the worst place Logan had seen. Aaron walked around, hands in his jacket pockets, testing the creak of the floorboards. "This is in your price range," Claire explained, glancing at Logan. "The landlord is flexible with a month-to-month lease. Utilities not included, but heat and water are covered. Aaron studied the tiny bedroom. It's kinda small, he mumbled, though Logan could see the flicker of something, hope, maybe, crossing his features. Claire drove them to 2 more listings, a cramped studio above a noisy convenience store and a slightly larger 1-bedroom near a subway station, but with older plumbing. At the 3rd place, the heat blasted from vents that smelled faintly of mildew. Aaron wrinkled his nose. Probably not, he said. Claire just nodded, taking notes. She never once asked why a teenager was picking an apartment with a man twice his age, and Logan silently thanked her for that. The last listing of the day was in Queens as well, a short walk from a community center and a small library. This might be the best option, Claire remarked, leading them up 2 flights of narrow stairs. She opened the door to a unit that had been recently repainted. The living room was small but clean, with a window overlooking a patch of green where kids were riding bikes. The kitchen had brand new countertops, and the sole bedroom featured a closet with decent storage. Aaron wandered around, opening a cabinet, testing the faucet. He ran a hand over the bedroom wall, then stepped onto a tiny balcony with a view of the back alley and the tops of neighboring houses. Logan waited, not wanting to influence him too much. After a minute, Aaron turned, speaking quietly. "I like this one best," he said. "Feels okay." Claire's smile brightened. "Wonderful. The landlord lives downstairs and keeps the place in good shape. Rent is reasonable. If you're comfortable covering the deposit, we can finalize paperwork by tomorrow." She glanced at Aaron. "Would you like to see anything else, or are you good?" Aaron stared at the modest living room as though picturing himself there. "No, I think I'm good." Logan stepped forward, placing a hand lightly on Aaron's shoulder. "Then let's do it," he said. "Claire, I'll handle the lease and deposit, but put everything in Aaron's name." Claire looked a bit surprised. Usually, a parent or guardian was listed, but she nodded. Aaron blinked, processing the significance. He offered no immediate thanks, yet a quiet gratitude hovered in his eyes. They signed preliminary forms right there, scheduling a lease commencement for the next week. Claire promised to email final paperwork after she talked to the landlord. Aaron seemed dazed, trailing behind as they left. Back on the street, Logan let him walk in silence. Finally, the teen said, "So that's it? I can live there in a week?" Logan nodded. "Yes. I'll make sure the rent and fees are taken care of. You'll need some basic furniture. We can pick that out, or you can decide on your own." Aaron swallowed, as though absorbing a future he hadn't dared to imagine. "Yeah, we can figure it out." They parted ways with Claire, and Logan directed the car back toward Manhattan. The ride was subdued, Aaron leaning his forehead against the window. Just outside the hotel, Logan got a text from Ann reminding him of yet another business obligation. He sighed, pocketing the phone. "I need to handle a few things at headquarters," he explained, turning to Aaron. "But I can be back tonight. You're free to stay here or come with me, though it might be boring." Aaron contemplated. "I'll just hang out here, maybe walk around." The mention of him walking around unaccompanied gave Logan a twinge of worry, but he resisted the urge to smother. "All right, just keep your phone on so I know you're safe." He realized too late that Aaron had no phone, only an old flip phone he'd mentioned once, but Logan had never seen it. Aaron must have caught the realization in Logan's eyes because he shrugged. "Don't worry, I'll be fine. I don't go far, usually." Logan fished out his wallet, pulling a few bills. "Take this in case you need anything." Aaron opened his mouth to protest, but then nodded stiffly. "Thanks." With that, they parted in the hotel lobby. Logan's trip to Aurelius headquarters was tense. He had skirted his duties too many times recently, and he knew the board members and his executive team had begun to notice. But every question about where he'd been or why he seemed preoccupied fell on deaf ears. He breezed through a project update, delegated tasks, and cut short a meeting about an upcoming product launch. Nothing in the office felt as pressing as ensuring Aaron was all right. By the time he returned to Stella Vista, late afternoon shadows stretched across the marble floors. The suite was dark and empty. Logan flicked on a lamp, searching for signs that Aaron had come back. On the coffee table lay the room key with a scribbled note. "Went for a walk. I'll be back." That eased Logan's worry, though hours ticked by without Aaron's return. He tried to watch TV, checked emails, even ordered a sandwich he hardly touched. The city outside dimmed into neon colors. Still no sign of the boy. Around 8 o'clock, Logan got a text from an unknown number. "Don't freak out. Met up with a friend. Heading back soon." Relief coursed through him. He typed a quick reply. "Okay, be safe." Then realized how odd it felt to text a child he never knew about until days ago. Still, he meant every letter. Finally, close to 9, the door creaked open and Aaron entered. He wore the same weary expression, but there was a bit of energy in his step. "Hey," Logan said, standing from the chair. "You okay?" Aaron shut the door behind him. "Yeah, I was just meeting a friend I knew from one of the shelters. Caught up, told him I might be getting a place soon." A hint of pride mingled with uncertainty in his voice. "I guess it's cool," Logan managed to smile. "I'm glad. I was worried when it got late." Aaron shrugged. "I'm used to being out late, no big deal." The teen flopped onto the couch, kicking off his worn sneakers. "So we really going to buy furniture tomorrow?" Logan laughed quietly. "Sure, if you're up for it. IKEA run or whatever suits you. You can pick what you like. Basic bed, dresser, a decent table maybe." He paused, feeling a surge of fondness that surprised him. "It's your place, so you call the shots." Aaron fiddled with a loose thread on the couch cushion. "I've never owned much. Feels weird to choose stuff when I'm used to taking whatever I get." For a moment, a haunted look darted across his eyes, as though recalling the scrappy foster homes or shelters he cycled through. Logan's chest tightened at the thought. "Maybe that can change," Logan said softly, sitting beside him. The distance between them on the couch was symbolic, close enough to hear each other breathe, far enough to maintain the boy's comfort. "You don't have to do it alone anymore. You have a right to choose what your life looks like." Aaron gazed at him, a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. "And you're just okay with that? Paying for stuff? Not knowing if I'll stick around?" Logan dipped his head, sighing. "I'm not okay with the idea of losing you again, but it's not about me being comfortable. It's about giving you a real shot. And if that means risking you walking away someday, well, that's on me to accept." Silence settled, broken only by the distant hum of traffic outside. Aaron looked away, blinking rapidly. Thanks," he whispered, voice catching. Before Logan could speak, the teen hastily changed the subject. "I'm starving, though. You want to order pizza or something?" Logan jumped at the normalcy of the request. "Pizza sounds perfect. Let's do it." He grabbed his phone, finding a nearby pizzeria that delivered, while Aaron composed himself, scanning the TV for something to watch. Logan dialed, placing their order, all the while reminding himself not to rush the fragile bond they were forming. They had an apartment to furnish, a precarious rapport to nurture, and a world of unanswered questions. But tonight, sharing a simple meal and watching trashy television felt like a victory. A week later, Aaron stood in the middle of his new living room, dwarfed by stacks of flat-packed cardboard boxes. The windows let in a slant of late-afternoon sunlight that dust motes danced through, lending a soft glow to the otherwise bare space. An unassembled bed frame leaned against the wall, waiting for an Allen wrench and some patience. Logan hovered beside him, scanning the instructions. Neither spoke for a moment. Outside in the hallway, sounds of neighbors' footsteps echoed against scuffed linoleum. "You ready to tackle this?" Logan asked, lifting the booklet of diagrams. Aaron shrugged, hands jammed in his hoodie pockets. I guess. It's gotta get done, right? They had spent the morning on a whirlwind trip to a massive furniture store, pushing a cart loaded with basic necessities. A mattress, a small table, a lamp. Logan had offered more options, but Aaron kept shaking his head. I don't need much, he'd insisted. Now the only furniture in the living room was a second-hand couch they had bought on discount. They got to work, carefully laying out parts on the floor. Logan knelt, flipping from one page to the next. Aaron grabbed a handful of screws and brackets, trying to match them to the line drawings. Tension lingered between them, a shared awareness that the details of their relationship, father, son, or something in between, remained undefined. Yet in this moment, they had a simple task: build a bed. Every so often their arms brushed as they maneuvered the frame. Each time, Aaron froze slightly, as though uncertain if such closeness was allowed. Logan noticed, heart twinging. He wanted to tell Aaron it was fine, that it was normal for family to share a space, but he kept silent. Instead, he handed over screws whenever Aaron reached out. They worked in a kind of synchronized hush, the clink of metal and the rustle of cardboard filling the small apartment. After an hour, the bed frame took shape, albeit wobbly in places. Logan tightened a few screws, grimacing at the cheap metal. "Let's see if it holds," he said, gesturing for Aaron to test it. The teen tentatively sat on the edge and the frame groaned. Aaron laughed under his breath, standing up quickly. "Might need to tighten those bolts," he said, cheeks flushing. They reinforced the frame, rechecked each bracket, then brought in the mattress from the hallway. Once everything settled, Aaron perched on the bed again, this time more confidently. "That'll do," he murmured half to himself. Logan nodded, recalling a long-ago memory of his own first real bed in a rundown house, how he had felt a mix of pride and disbelief that it belonged to him alone. "Hungry?" Logan asked, rubbing his sore knees. "We can order something, or I can pick up groceries if you want to start stocking the kitchen." Aaron leaned back, bracing himself on his palms. "Groceries would be nice, I guess. Cheaper than takeout every day." He seemed almost shy, admitting he cared about budgeting. Logan gave a nod. "Cool, let's do that. There's a supermarket a few blocks away. Want to walk or drive?" Aaron hesitated, then stood. "Walk. I need to know my own neighborhood, right?" A hint of a smile flashed across his face, fragile but real. Logan felt a wave of relief, grateful for every small sign that Aaron was warming to the idea of living here. They left the apartment and headed down squeaking stairs. The lobby smelled faintly of mothballs, a reminder that this building had seen better days. Yet compared to some corners of the city, it felt homely enough, with its peeling wallpaper and dusty potted plant. Outside, the sidewalks bustled, neighbors chatting on stoops, cars honking lazily in the distance. On the walk, Aaron kept his gaze on the street. He looked uncomfortable in the bright afternoon, as though he didn't know how to fit in with people who had routines and places to go. Passing an old bookstore and a bakery, he slowed. "Smells good," he said softly, glancing at Logan. "You can pop in any time," Logan replied. "That's the nice thing about having a place you can call home. You get to explore." Aaron tucked his hands in his pockets, nodding as if trying to believe it. He paused at a trash bin to throw away a loose wrapper, then caught up to Logan, who'd waited. They reached the supermarket, a modest store with flickering neon letters in the window. Inside, shelves stood crowded, a jumble of canned goods, fresh produce, and discount items. Aisle by aisle, Aaron grabbed basic foods: cereal, milk, pasta, sauce, a loaf of bread, peanut butter. Logan stuck to essentials, not wanting to overwhelm him with a cartload of expensive items. At the dairy section, Aaron hesitated over eggs. "Large or medium?" he asked, frowning at the price difference. Logan gently pointed to the large. "They'll last you a while, and you can make more stuff, but it's your choice." Aaron stared at the cartons, then grabbed the large eggs. "All right," he murmured, placing them in the cart. They rounded a corner and found themselves face to face with a small station for free samples, some grilled sausages. Aaron surprised Logan by quietly taking one, tasting it, and letting a rare grin surface. "It's actually good." "Grab a pack if you want," Logan offered. "You can cook them for dinner." "Sure," Aaron said, tossing them in. For a moment they seemed like any father and son shopping in a local grocery, discussing mundane details. A curious warmth spread through Logan's chest. He almost forgot the tangled history that had brought them here. They paid and walked the groceries back, arms laden with bulging plastic bags. At the building's front door, they maneuvered through the cramped lobby, taking the creaking stairs 2 at a time. Inside the apartment, the newly assembled bed loomed. Aaron set down the bags and asked, "So you heading back soon?" Logan straightened, rubbing his tired shoulders. "Back where?" "Your fancy life," Aaron clarified, fiddling with a grocery receipt. "Don't you have some big business emergency?" An uneasy pang rippled through Logan. "I have responsibilities, yeah. I'll have to fly out eventually, but that doesn't mean I'm disappearing." Aaron looked up, a hint of skepticism coloring his features. "I've heard that before from other people, that they wouldn't vanish, but things happen." He shrugged. "You can't blame me if I wonder." Logan sighed. "I know, and I can't make you trust me overnight. All I can do is keep showing up. I meant what I said. I'll help you settle in, get through a GED if that's what you want, check in regularly. But at some point, yes, I'll have to be in California for my company." Aaron nodded, pressing the receipt into a small wad. "I'm not saying you're a liar. I just don't know." Logan decided to push gently. "What if I visit once a month? Or we arrange for you to come out during breaks? You'd have your place here, but you wouldn't lose me. We could stay connected until we figure out something permanent." Aaron mulled that over, flicking his gaze to the window. "That might work." They spent the rest of the afternoon unpacking groceries. Aaron insisted on methodically organizing items in the pantry. When everything was put away, they assembled the small table and 2 mismatched chairs. Aaron eyed the finished product with a half-smile. "I guess I have a dining area now." Logan grinned back. "You do indeed." Eventually the day slipped into evening. Logan ordered pizza again, an easy default, and they ate at the new table, the overhead light casting a warm glow. Aaron brought up a subject they'd tiptoed around. "So, about the GED thing, I was thinking I might need a computer to study and stuff." Logan nodded, trying to conceal his eagerness. "Of course. We can pick one out. I'll cover it." "I don't want something crazy," Aaron said quickly. "Just enough to do online classes or research." "We'll find something basic," Logan reassured him. "I used to build computers in my dorm room. Maybe I can teach you some of that if you're interested." Aaron gave a small scoff. "You think I can learn that stuff?" "Why not?" Logan replied. "You're clearly resourceful. You've made it on your own for a long time. Tech skills might come naturally or maybe not, but you won't know unless you try." Aaron fiddled with a pizza crust. "I guess so." His gaze flickered with a glimmer of curiosity, as though he couldn't help imagining what it might be like to share a genuine interest with Logan. When they finished, Logan stood and began clearing plates. Aaron rose to help, placing leftovers in the still empty fridge. They moved in a quiet rhythm, and for a few moments it felt comforting. No big declarations, no heavy arguments, just 2 people learning to coexist. After the dishes were rinsed, Aaron hovered by the living room window, peering outside. "I don't remember the last time I had my own room. Feels unreal," he murmured, voice laced with reverence and trepidation. Logan joined him, resting a hand on the windowsill. "You do now, and it's real. You earned it more than anyone I know." Aaron let out a breath, eyes distant. I'm not sure what the future holds, but thanks for this, for everything. Logan met his gaze, determined to let the gratitude land. You're welcome. I'm here, Aaron. I won't vanish. Let me prove it. Aaron lowered his head in a small nod. Beyond the glass, the city's lights glowed in the encroaching dusk. In that apartment, no longer just an empty shell, they stood side by side, uncertain yet hopeful. Despite all the years lost and the regrets that lingered, a possibility emerged that maybe, just maybe, they could forge a bond from the ashes of what might have been. They didn't speak again for a while, content to let the moment stretch. Outside, a siren wailed down the street, fading into the night. Inside, father and son, if that was the right term for them, stood together, each holding on to the fragile promise that the worst of their loneliness might be over,